bet, though. All right, if you're counting, we're just 2 weeks into the new school year, and a new poll by Education Trust Midwest shows a majority of Michigan voters support the Common Core state standards. The poll shows 71% of voters favor implementing the program and just 18% oppose it. Common Core standards are internationally benchmarked and intended to create consistency between states and improve college and career readiness. So these standards were adopted by the State Board of Education in 2010, but the legislature has not approved funding for the program. All right, so we're still in a little bit of mix. Now, Nolan is rolling his eyes because he says Common Core standards, but there's still a problem in the legislature.
I'm rolling my eyes at the poll. I mean, you've got an organization that's been advocating for these standards. You're not going to expect them to produce a poll that shows anything but this. I don't think the standards are going to pass the legislature. This legislature has already given the governor a very tough vote on Medicaid. I don't think going into an election year they're going to go on Common Core because their polling tells them something different.
There seems to be at least some support for the curriculum, but it's the testing.
It's that
that people are having.
It's the federal role.
They're having a problem with.
If it passes, and I think I agree with Nolan that it doesn't look like it's going to, but if it does, it will be because they bifurcate it, right? They'll accept the standards and delay the test.
Yes.
Now, I think that's a very weak compromise that doesn't get us anywhere close to where we need to be in terms of standards and enforcing them and holding people accountable, but it's better than nothing.
They've got to do what they did with Medicaid and come up with a Michigan solution because these lawmakers are not going to buy a program that's attached to the federal government. They're just not going to do it.
I got to tell you, my son brought home his math workbook this week. It said Common Core right on the front
Excellent.
of it. So there you go.
They're good standards, so no reason not to teach the standards.
There you go. All right, as we get closer to elections in this state, it's likely you're going to start to see and hear more political ads on TV and radio, and many of those ads tout issues, and they're paid for with what's called dark money, which essentially prevents the public from knowing who donated to the campaigns to pay for these ads. Now, the State Bar wants the Secretary of State to rule on whether these kinds of ads should be required to follow campaign finance rules. What do you think about that?
Well, I don't think this. It was interesting. The State Bar's proposal didn't address the situation we had here a few years ago when Feiger donated money or gave money to his employees to donate back to candidates. I mean, everybody wants to limit the other side's ability to spend money, but not their own.
We have a conflict of interest if we're, especially with a lot of these the judge.
Yeah, I mean, I think the point is that elections in the state are filthy. They're an embarrassment. The way that money gets spent, the way that money gets accounted for and reported, we can do better than this. And it doesn't matter whose idea it is. If it's a good idea, we ought to do it.
No, but it should be comprehensive. You should take the money out on all sides, not just one side.
Agreed.
And for years here, in decades here, the State Bar and the trial attorneys had a free run at these elections, and they're getting a little nervous now because the other side's starting to spend money.
Well, I think what we ought to do is first of all, I don't think judges ought to be elected anyway. I mean, I think that's sort of silly. But
that's a bigger conversation.
If they are, there is a very strong case to manage those campaigns much more tightly than political races.
Except Michigan voters have been electing very good courts over the last 10, 12 years.
They've been
excellent courts.
Horrible courts.
Excellent courts.
You could take a hit in the wallet if Michigan